Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to our regular council meeting of June 8th, 2016. All members are present this morning. I remind everybody at today's meeting, please ensure all your cell phones and your electronic devices are turned off or placed in a non-audible mode during the meeting. Council members are reminded, please, to refrain from sending texts and emails during the course of the meeting. Before we begin our agenda, I just wanted to welcome Mr. Harry Schlang, our new CAO. Welcome aboard. We're glad to have you with us, and this is your first official council meeting, so we're going to behave for the first one. Thank you. Welcome. Members of council, there are a few agenda changes identified on the package in front of you. I will ask the city clerk to review the changes for today's agenda since its publication last Friday.
Mayor Jeffrey, members of council, members of the public, the changes noted for today's agenda. Item 10.5, minutes from the Planning and Infrastructure Services Committee meeting of this past Monday, June 6th. The minutes themselves in their totality are not complete, so the recommendations only are presented to council today for approval. In addition, there is an item 21.4, closed session item, regarding a litigation or potential litigation matter, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, a litigation matter. That material will be distributed to members in a few moments. As well, in regard to items that were already listed on the published agenda, in regard to item 6.1, delegations from the William Osler Health System regarding an update on the construction progress and planning of the Peel Memorial Center for Integrated Health and Wellness. There is a copy of the presentation from the delegations attached before members this morning, and as well, the only delegates this morning on that item will be Neil Davis and Ann Ford. In regard to item 10.1, minutes from the Planning and Infrastructure Services Committee meeting of May 30th, and specifically on recommendations PIS 153-2016 and PIS 154-2016, there is a delegation request identified as 6.2 from Quinto Anibal from Loopstra Nixon LLP on behalf of the applicants. And finally, in regard to item 18.1, which is regional council business, there is a briefing report from the Office of the Chief Administrative Officer regarding two meetings scheduled tomorrow at the Region of Peel, the Region of Peel Community Water Fluoridation Committee meeting, as well as the Region of Peel Council meeting on June 9th.
Okay, I don't see anybody else on my board. I have a motion moved by Councillor Dillon, seconded by Councillor Moore, that the agenda for the regular council meeting of June 8th be approved as printed and circulated. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There is an added in-camera item that was generated from Monday night's planning in-camera.
Okay.
I believe the clerk has the proper wording.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. The proposed item would be 21.5, minutes from closed session from the Planning and Infrastructure Services Committee meeting of June 6th, this past Monday evening.
So with that amended agenda for the regular council meeting be approved and printed and circulated, all those in favor? Those opposed? That's carried. Do any members have a declaration of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act for any matter to be considered on today's agenda? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, if you could note that. We are now ready to move to the next item of public business on today's council agenda, item 3, which are minutes. We have the following council minutes before us today. The minutes of the regular city council meeting of May 25th to the council meeting of June 8th be approved as printed and circulated. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's carried. The items listed with an asterisk on our agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial. The consent motion is to adopt this matter on today's agenda without the need for a separate discussion on the item unless a member requests a separate discussion. There are only two items listed for the consent motion today. Does any member wish to add or remove from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Miles, that to approve the consent motion. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's carried. We now move on to the part of the agenda dealing with announcements. Council, today we have two announcements. Our first announcement is regarding Crossing Guard Appreciation Day, which is June 14th. Violet Skirton, Crossing Guard Supervisor, Public Works, Planning and Infrastructure Services, is here to make this announcement. Councilor Fortini is the council sponsor for this announcement. Counselor, did you want to speak first, afterwards? Okay. Violet, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you, Mayor and members of council. Pat Bourne, our chair of the Brampton School Traffic Safety Council, is also here, and we'd like to announce that June 14th is Crossing Guard Appreciation Day in Brampton, actually in Peel, and it's a good opportunity for the community to show their appreciation for all the crossing guards in Brampton that get their children to school safely, and it also shows the guards that we do appreciate what they do. So thank you.
Did you want to say
On behalf of the Brampton School Traffic Council, I'd like to thank Madam Mayor, members of council for this acknowledgement, and thank you.
Thank you. Councilor 14.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Violet, thank you for all you do, and Pat, being a good chair. You're there every meeting, you're there. I just got to see on the list there, there's some people that have been there 20, 25 years, 30 years. We're very lucky to have people like them, and especially you. I know you're up at 4:35 in the morning juggling them around, so thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for reminding us, and I hope that we take the opportunity to say thank you to our local crossing guards.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our first announcement is regarding summer events 2016. Kirsten is here, our acting supervisor, Festival Special Events, Office of the Chief Operating Officer. And Councillor Bowman, you are the council sponsor. Did you wish to speak now or after? Welcome, Kirsten, and your team.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, members of council, executive leadership team, fellow staff members, and members of the public. I'm Kristen Kiernan, the acting supervisor for the Festivals and Special Events Office. I'm joined by Harry Topping and Megan Guerra, the senior event specialists, and we're here to talk about the summer announcements. I'm going to hand it over to Hillary to talk about Solar Brampton.
Thank you, Kristen. I'm pleased to be here today to announce the exciting details we have in store for Solar Brampton. The event will be taking place on Saturday, June 11th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the downtown core. The opening ceremonies will take place at 11 a.m. in Garden Square, followed by some great live entertainment. The event will also include a kids zone in Gage Park, a free barbecue on Wellington Street, the other popular BMX zone and Bike Fest on Main Street North, the Community Village on Main Street South, and the Info City in Ken Millen Square. Finally, to end the day with a bang, the colorful Flower City Parade will kick off at 3 p.m. on Main Street. As there will be several road closures in effect, we encourage everyone to leave their cars at home and take Brampton Transit for $1. For more information on Solar Brampton, please visit www.brampton.ca, and we hope to see you there. I will now pass it over to Megan for the farmers market.
Okay, so, there we go. Excited to be here to talk about the markets just very quickly. So this year's downtown market marks our 30th anniversary that the City of Brampton has been operating the market. This year's market will run from June 18 to October 8th, make sure I get that right. From 7 to 1, rain or shine, every Saturday morning. Something new and exciting this year, we're launching a Cooking at the Market series of free cooking demos with the arts and culture team, so we're really excited to be bringing that to the market. And then, of course, Mount Pleasant Market is extending this year. We'll run for 16 weeks from June 23rd to October 6th. And we'll adopt seasonal hours this year. So from June 23rd to September 1st, it will be open from 4 to 8 p.m. And then from September 1st to October 6th, from 4 to 7 p.m. And I will now pass it back to Kristen for Canada Day.
So plans for Canada Day celebration are set to begin at 12 p.m. on Friday, July 1st, from noon till 10 p.m. Concluding with a spectacular fireworks show at 10 p.m. The regular park programming will be open all day, including the splash pad, jungle gym, paddleboarding, mini golf, petting zoo, beach volleyball, and the BMX skate park. The official opening ceremony will take place at 2 p.m. on the community stage. Entertainment highlights include cultural performances, children's entertainment, running mascots, family-friendly amusement rides, and more. Just announced this week, our headliners, July Talk, the Toronto-based five-piece band will hit the stage at 8:30 p.m. Opening for them will be Brampton native Shane Hart, performing at 7:30 p.m. Shane is an actor and performer who starred in the popular show, the Family Channel show, The Next Step, and we hope you can all join us for Canada's 149th birthday at the city's largest festival this year. Thank you. Any questions or comments?
seeing no other questions, so I'll just congratulate you guys. You always do a phenomenal job organizing these events. It certainly makes Brampton the place to be in the summer, between the farmers market here, farmers market in Mount Pleasant, possibly another farmers market opening up in Chinguacousy in the future. I know that there are councilors who would like to see that. And the Canada Day celebrations as well. The majority of us will be here for Brampton and be in the parade to walk along with that, and just great news all around for this summer's activities downtown. Congratulations.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, I want to thank Hillary, Kristen, and Megan. Not only do you do a good job here getting us excited to go to the events, you do a good job managing the events, and I know that you make it look easy. It isn't, putting these things together and making them work seamlessly and making it a great summer for our residents. So thank you for all you do. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Our first delegation today is 6.1 regarding an update on the construction progress and planning of Peel Memorial Center for Integrated Health and Wellness. Today's delegations are Neil Davis, Vice Chair, and Ann Ford, Vice President of Facilities and Redevelopment. And after hearing from the delegation, we will consider staff report item 8.1. Council, the delegations normally have about 5 minutes to speak, but I think we're going to need a little more time for our delegations, and they've requested that today. May I have a motion to allow the delegations to pass? I have a couple of motions. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the accommodation. I know you've done that because you know I have difficulty clearing my throat in 5 minutes. Come by that naturally.
I wasn't going to say that.
And the issue we're updating you on today is of great interest to everybody in this room and through that camera to everybody at home. So I appreciate the opportunity to bring this update, and I'm joined by Ann Ford. Ann and I have been a roadshow a number of times, and we're pretty good at working together. I'm going to bring certain messages, and Ann is going to give you a tour of the building. I used to do with Martino, some of you will recall, but we keep Frank pretty busy now that he's Chief of Staff of the hospital. I think I'm pleased to be here, and I will say, I think I'm mandated to be here. The undertaking that we signed together, or the memorandum, commits us to bring you this update. So I'm very pleased to do it. But beyond the mandate, I'm being pastored out in a couple of weeks. I am ending my term on the Osler board. So it's a real privilege for me to be able to bring this sort of final update, at least in my official capacity, in my role with the hospital. And so it's exciting for me to do this today. It's our vision, and we start every presentation we make with this, and patient-inspired healthcare without boundaries. We try and live that vision. And vision statements are wonderful, but you've got to actually execute on them. We think we do a pretty good job. We don't do it perfectly, but what I will tell you, in my time there, and particularly recently, if we don't get it right, we're good listeners, and we're going to get it better. And I'd like to sort of speak to patient-inspired. What that means is we used to get patients together and we'd tell them what's best for them. That doesn't work really well, especially in a diverse community such as ours. And so patient-inspired means we sit them down, we ask them for advice as to how we could treat their condition or deal with them or deal with their family better. And so I think it's a step that we needed to take, and we've taken it, and we execute on it, and so I'm quite proud of it. Now, the without boundaries part, I just want to speak to for a minute. You know, you sort of think of that being geographic, and in that sense it's true. We serve lots of folks in Osler beyond municipal boundaries, but it goes beyond that. In a community such as ours, we want to talk about no boundaries around how we treat people of different cultures, ethnicities, language, age, gender, And we have to do that to do our job well. So I think it's a terrific statement. The other thing it says is we have to think differently about how we deliver health care. And the models of the past served us well in the past. They are not going to serve us into the future. And that's what Peel has been about, quite frankly, is bringing a different mission to how we deliver health care. And it gives us an opportunity, quite frankly, to deliver it differently and move upstream of care, intervene earlier, so we don't put so many people in a bed, we don't have so many coming to our emergency room. So this is a picture. I hope most of you driven by have a look. You made an investment, the citizens of the city made an investment, so hopefully you've had a look. But here it is into May, and a lot of the work on the outside is done. Ann's going to take you through what we're doing on the inside so you can see it. But it's, I'm sure, exciting for everybody in this room that we've reached this point. And you're going to hear this, but we are intending to reach substantial completion in October. And that's going to be an exciting day for all of us. So here's the history of Peel Memorial, and they gave this slide to me yesterday, and I'm going, well, that's pretty an abbreviated exercise of how we got here. But let's say in 1925 it opened, and then it closed in 2007. I was at this table asking for commitment. The Lynn committed, this council committed. We submitted to the ministry the proposal for phase 1 and phase 2. The ministry committed in 2010. We demolished in 2012. In 2014, we have our groundbreaking. Many of you were there. Exciting day for us. And 2015, just less than a year ago, we topped off the building. Again, many of you were there. And the history, though, to get from before Peel closed to its reopening, it's its own history, quite frankly. You could write it. And it looks easy on a slide, but it took marches, it took petitions, it took political courage in this room and beyond this room. And most importantly, community leadership, singular and collective, to say we're going to get this done. Because we weren't even on the radar screen, quite frankly. They said, we just gave you Civic. What are you talking about, a second hospital for this community? Well, we knew we needed it. We knew that Peel had to exist again. And so, hats off to everybody who got it done. So, here's the focus, and some of you will have heard me on these issues. So let me talk about the first one, health, wellness, and prevention. The reason that matters is that at the moment we spend 45 cents of every provincial dollar on health care, and it's growing. It's grown from the, in the mid-20s 25 years ago to now 45%. In the Drummond report, if we do nothing differently, it's going to 80% by 2030. That can't happen. You starve education, you starve roads, you starve everything else. So we can't let that happen. So that's why the mission we're on for Peel matters, and not just to this community, but it is going to be a model of healthcare delivery beyond this community. It needs to be. Involving and educating patients, and you'll see a lot of what we need to do if we're going to change healthcare is to change behavior. You can't do that by just telling people this is what you got to do. The Canada Food Guide, it's a nice document. It hasn't changed behavior. We got to find a way to actually work with people so that we can show them how a healthy lifestyle can change their health outcomes. And innovative partnerships. Healthcare delivery is a complex exercise, especially around prevention and wellness. We talk a terrific game about prevention and wellness. We don't fund it. We don't deliver it. We've got to start delivering on it. And there are a whole bunch of people in the healthcare sector outside of physicians. Physicians are obviously the gatekeepers, but there's so many others who deliver on a wellness agenda. We've got to invite them all, quite frankly, to the table to deliver the message of how we do this better. So let me talk about just one part, because we're also going to be a great hospital, aside from the prevention and wellness agenda. We have at Brampton Civic the busiest emergency department in the nation. It may be in North America. We are seeing now 140,000 visits a year. The facility was built for 90. That number keeps going up, and we needed 2 facilities. The Urgent Care Center at Peel, in its first full year, will be somewhere over 40,000, and I think that's conservative. I expect it's going to be significantly higher. Within 3 or so years, we will see 75,000 or so visits. Many of the people who show up at the emergency department at Civic can be seen in an urgent care center. They are what they call CTASs 3, 4s, and 5s, and they can be seen at Peel. So we needed this facility. Outpatient care visits, I'll just give you some numbers. 123,000. Next one is surgeries. Let me just talk about that. 25 years ago, 85% of surgeries required a bed. You needed a bed if you're going to have surgery. Now 85 to 90% of surgeries don't require a bed. So what's great about this facility is you can get scheduled in. There's no one to push you out of the way because there's some crisis. You get scheduled in, you have it, you go home. High-tech diagnostics, this community has had to step up because equipment comes from the funding of the local share. We will see 78,000 visits a year in the next annually within the next 3 years. And the 200,000 visits a year when fully open, that's the first year fully open. The number in three short years is 280,000. And that's a conservative number, I believe. That's a 40% increase in 3 years. We need this facility to open. I'm going to turn it over to Ann to take you through the building.
Thanks, Neil, and good morning, everyone. Madam Mayor and councilors, really appreciate your time this morning and allow us to be here. So I'm going to run through a few slides of the building itself. Neil talked about the vision, and when we looked at the design and the construction of this building, we really did take that vision into account, mostly around patient-inspired. So we did have patients and folks from our Community Advisory Committee on our planning teams and on our design teams as we went through this. So we really talked to them a lot about where we were going. But before I go through these slides, I did want to shout out to the city staff who really helped us facilitated and supported us through the planning process. They were great. There's a few folks around these tables that have been in a lot of the meetings with us, but really the planning teams in the building department has done a great job for us, and it was a pleasure working with them, and we really appreciate their help. So this picture you see in front of you is actually a perspective of the building from the southwest corner. The canopy you see there is the loading docks. But the importance of this picture, and you can just see a bit of it, we realized the way that we sited the building is that we were backing onto neighborhoods. We're in a neighborhood. We're not in an industrial area. We're in a neighborhood that will continue to be there. So we put a lot of emphasis into making sure that the back of the building looked as good as the front of the building, and that the back of the building had just as many number of windows from a design perspective to get light into the building as the front and the sides of the building. So you can see a little bit of that. And actually, if you come north on Center Street and you can see the full back of the building, it really does resemble the front. The main lobby, and this is a little bit of a difficult picture to see because we still have scaffolding in there, but as you're looking at the photo, you can see a set of stairs. Again, from a health and wellness perspective, we didn't want people necessarily to just have to take the elevator in this building. This is about maintaining your health, us helping patients get back their health, but then maintaining it. So we have a center stairwell that really is the focus of our main lobby, along with the front colored windows. But again, as you go through a few of these pictures, you'll see lots of windows. Evidence-based design tells us that the more natural light people have access to, the better they feel and the faster they heal. So we have access to light on all 3 of these floors, and lots of light infused into our exam rooms, etc. The other thing with this building, the pictures won't show it here, but we do have 2.5 stories of parking below the building. If you've driven by, you might say, well, where we're parking, because most hospitals up to this point have been in a sea of surface parking. We were able to put two and a half stories below parking. We do have some surface parking for urgent care. But the other point of that was actually we have one set of elevators in this building that go from each floor of the parking up into the building. So our patients can drive in underneath, get on the elevator if they'd like, and then come straight up into the building and be able to find their way on those floors. Clinical perspective, Neil spoke a little bit about our urgent care center. This gives you an idea. It's now June. A number of these rooms are just about finished. You can see the flooring and you can see the sink and you can see the doors. One of the aspects about this urgent care center is we are actually building it to the same specifications that you would build an emergency room. So some of you may know we've got another redevelopment project happening in Etobicoke. This is being built the same way. The doors are important. They actually break away. They actually provide a barrier for infection control purposes. Gone are the days of the cubicle curtains in contemporary built emergency room and urgent care centers. For light, each one of these rooms have windows into them. We have 22 treatment stations in the urgent care center. One of those is a full-fledged isolation room with an anteroom. So if someone does happen to come into this facility with an infectious disease of some sort, we can actually place them into an isolation room and take care of them there. So that, again, is another aspect of this urgent care center. Dialysis. Unfortunately, and when we look at really our vision of where we're trying to go with changing a bit of the healthcare cost curve and how we're going to treat patients in the future, renal and kidney care is huge in this community. With the addition of these 12 stations at Peel, we will have over 150 dialysis stations. Those are for folks who are in end-stage renal disease. It is a problem. It's a health problem in Brampton and the surrounding areas. So what are we doing about it? At Peel, these stations here, we're actually looking at them as a step before folks might be able to do their dialysis at home. Scandinavia and some European countries, a lot of their dialysis are done at home. So if you can imagine being a patient who might have to come into a facility 3 or 4 times a week for 3, 4, 6 hours a day, being able to do that at home, quality of life immediately increases. So that's what we're looking at here, that the patients here actually may be more acute, but we're hoping that we can actually utilize this for training and education to better our patients' lives as they might be able to do their dialysis at home. Again, you can see that we have all of the plugs in place. We're ready to go for the equipment, and this is actually the one space that's just about done. We're waiting for furniture and equipment. Public spaces. We have 5 courtyards in this building, 2 of which are specific to our mental health patient, one for child and adolescents and one for adults. But the other 3 are public spaces for public visitors and staff. This one here is our seniors courtyard. You may wonder what the concrete blocks are. Those are actually planting bins. So large concrete places, they'll be fully irrigated, so lots of plants. The other unique one about this courtyard is that it has varying surfaces because it's attached directly to our seniors rehab gym, and various surfaces so folks can go out, and you can imagine if you've broken a hip or you have a knee replacement, you can actually go and practice your rehab on different surfaces. So we have a pebble surface, we have a flagstone surface, we have a concrete surface, we have an angled surface. So again, you can train your muscles back to walking on all of these surfaces, so when you actually are out and about, you can handle those a little bit more. The other thing that these courtyards has given us is, again, look at the windows. We've now been able to, we have light going into the laboratory. Laboratory and pharmacy are normally in the basement. We have staff now who are going to be able to work within a light-infused space, and so they're excited about it also, because besides the fact of keeping and helping our patients stay healthy, we're trying to keep and help our staff stay healthy and enjoying their workspace. So that's it, but we do have a short video, and we just need to hover, right? Okay, and how does that work? Oh, there. I had to push the...
I'm standing on what will be the main lobby of the site. And a year from now, this place will be teeming with patients coming to and from our healthcare appointments. Construction is on schedule, and at the end of October, when we reach substantial completion, we'll get the keys and we'll start preparations to move into this fabulous new facility. We'll move on to the space in 3 phases. First of all, our non-clinical support services will come into the building and start preparing for our patient care services. In February, our urgent care center will open, along with some of the services that they rely on the most, including diagnostic imaging, lab, pharmacy, and our medical clinics. Along come March, the rest of the building will open, with more of our clinics, our ambulatory procedures area, and dialysis. I'm standing now in the urgent care center treatment area, and as I mentioned before, the center will open in February. It's a progressive new service that we are really excited about for our community. The urgent care center has 22 treatment spaces. We'll be open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Emergency trained physicians and staff will be able to take care of most non-life-threatening illnesses, things like fever, cuts and bruises, broken bones, sprains, and coughs and colds. The wait times will usually be shorter than the emergency room, and no appointments or referrals are necessary. The new Pitt Memorial will be a new kind of facility that focuses on outpatient care and the services that the community needs most. There will be a big emphasis on health and wellness, education, and supporting people to make healthy lifestyle choices. And in the end, it all comes down to improving our community's health, making the most of OC resources, and most importantly, ensuring a better patient experience. Watch for more information on the services you can expect at the new Pitt Memorial. Check out our website at www.williammercerhealthsystem.ca. And until next time, thanks for watching.
So, let me talk. Some of you know this off by heart. Some of you probably don't. And that is, so this is our timeline on local share. And let me tell you what local share is. Local share is something that is required of each community where a new healthcare facility is being constructed to share in the cost. The way the costing works is 90% of the build of new facilities picked up by the province, but 10% has to be picked up by the local community. Perhaps as importantly, or maybe more importantly for this particular facility, 100% of equipment costs must be picked up. This is a facility that is built around early prevention and diagnostic being critical to that element. And so we need to raise our share of that in order to equip this facility. It was clear that we were not going to get in line to have this second hospital built unless this city stepped up and committed to local share. Our total for phase 1 and 2 was $120 million. We looked at the opportunity to raise the funds in the community. We could not raise $120 million without assistance from those sitting around this table who do it on behalf of those who are sitting out at home or out earning a living at the moment to make their payment towards this local share contribution. So we are coming to that point. Our local share requirement is for phase 1 is a little over $87 million. This city committed through the memorandum to fund $40 million, up to $40 million towards that first phase. And appreciate the report that says you've got it, and we're asking for it. We've asked for it. We're going to need it because you need to pay it to us because we have to get it into the sinking fund that the ministry requires of this project by July 24th. Again, that's how it worked, and I can honestly tell you that we would not have even gotten in the line to be considered for a second hospital without that commitment of that $60 million, $40 million for phase 1. So thank you. We sort of got through this, but substantial completion is going to occur soon. It's October 24th. And so non-clinical services will start to move in. We've got to set everything up. There's commissioning and testing, etc. We will open urgent care February 8th, And then within the next month and a bit, we will open everything else, and the center will be fully opened by beginning of April. So, again, I appreciate the opportunity to update all of you. It's been really a special privilege for me to work with you who are sitting around this table today, but those who occupied those seats before you. It really, and those who are maybe in those seats who were in other seats at different times. It took all of that, quite frankly, to get us here. And so it's been a privilege to work with all of you and get this done. Every time we've come to this table to ask for support, we got it. That continues today. The financial contribution, as I said, wouldn't have happened. The project wouldn't happen without it. But you continue to partner. If you look at, we've come out with our public campaign for the, because we made a commitment when we came to this table and asked for that 1/2 of local share. We said we're going to raise our part of it. And we're going to do that. We're getting close. But we're not quite there, and Ken Mayhew would kill me if I said we're there, because we've got till the end of the month to have a matching opportunity from Orlando. So every dollar we put in becomes 2 till the end of this month. And the last $5 or $6 million we've got to raise matters to how we equip this institution. So let's not take our foot off the pedal. But you know what's been terrific is the public campaign. And you see, it's a terrific campaign, but the city's opportunity presented by saying you can go on the underpass, the bridges. I mean, it is spectacular, quite frankly, to me, to tell the public in this community that way. And that couldn't have happened, quite frankly, without the assistance of staff here and those who made it happen. So I thank you for continuing to partner. But for me, it's really sort of, we're coming to the end of a beginning. This is not the end. We've got phase 2. There are going to be beds in phase 2. We got phase 3. There's going to be a tower in phase 3. An exciting part of the next step, which can happen tomorrow, quite frankly, is the partnership lands. We have, I think, and I gave a little presentation a couple of months ago downstairs here on economic opportunity presented by healthcare. Healthcare growth in jobs in this world is going to happen in healthcare. It is the second most important cluster you can develop in any community. And so we've set the stage with the catalyst of a terrific, forward-thinking healthcare facility. But think what we can build around it. We've got academic opportunities. We can bring private sector investment to the site. We can bring a co-location of all kinds of complementary providers in this space. We sit on a goal line. There's going to be transit upgrades all along Queen Street. We bring Clark through eventually. Comes right through to the site, literally to the site. We do all of that. We can not only build something spectacular on the 17 acres we've got, but let's push it all along Queen Street. We've been waiting for Queen Street, starting to happen. We have no excuse, quite frankly, to not use this opportunity. So for me, we've presented ourselves an opportunity to do more, and we should take advantage of it. So I'm very proud today of what we've collectively accomplished in this room and for this community and with this community, because they're the ones that stepped up to pay the dollars to make this happen. So I'm very proud of it, but I'm really looking forward to the next phase. I won't be doing it in this capacity, but hope I can have some participation in this moving forward, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'm happy to bring forward reporting point 1 so we can make the decision while Neil is here. Neil, I am happy to hear that you're still plan on remaining involved in this. You've been the face and the voice of the champion for Peel Memorial Hospital and reintroducing it as a strong presence along our Queen Street corridor, our central corridor in Brampton. It's hard to imagine that. I'm sure they'll recruit you to come and do the presentations because you're You're the face we all know and identify with the hard work that you've put into this, and I would like to personally thank you for the time and the commitment that you've put into this. I think a large part of the success has been attributed to your efforts, and I'm sure Ruth will appreciate you being home maybe a little bit more, not so sure. But I do want to make a few comments. I had the pleasure of seeing a presentation last week up at Peel Memorial, or up at Brampton Civic, that talked about the program that they have in partnering with the healthcare system in India. When you talk about without borders or without boundaries, it is so vitally important that there be a continuum of healthcare provision when people go away and stay with family in another country for extended periods of time, so that there's no break in their healthcare. So the without boundaries is so appropriate for Brampton Civic. It's interesting when you talk about the history of Peel Memorial. I've got that little book called The Little House That Grew, and back in 1925 there was the council of the day, the town council, or the Reeves, or whatever they were called back then, made a commitment, a local commitment to support the Peel Memorial Hospital, or the Peel Memorial, the health presence in this community, and we've continued with that theme, and I think that speaks strongly for Brampton. I'm glad you spoke to Phase 2 and Phase 3. We have made another $20 million commitment, and this is a community that's growing, that's continuing to grow, and Phase 2, Phase 3 is vitally important, but it is the never-ending story, and we do have to have the conversations about our third hospital in Brampton. I know I've met with staff and representatives from the LHIN to talk about how we achieve that and set aside the land that we need in Brampton for our third hospital. Now, for a municipality of 600,000 people, we have one emergency room today, and the volume of people that go through that emergency room really speaks to the need that we have here. Peel Memorial Hospital Health and Wellness, as a municipality, and we're all in this together. As the chair of planning here at the city and chair of health at the region, we both have a strong role to play. We need to plan our communities better so that we help people stay healthy. Walkable communities, complete streets, a healthy lifestyle. We make decisions every day that around here and at the region that help to contribute to the health of our citizens. But we need to connect those dots. We have the recreation centers, we talk about walkable streets, we talk about complete communities, we talk about the need for public transit and all those things, but we don't connect them necessarily in a really effective way to health. But I think the message that we want to send as a council is that we recognize we're all in this together, and I've had conversations with planning staff, and it's great that our new CAO, Harry Schlang, is here. Very timely that you're sitting in the seat that you are, so that you can hear some of the good work that's being done in this community. But from a planning perspective, we need to do a better job at the beginning of planning our new subdivisions to provide those kind of opportunities for people to stay healthy. But thank you, Neil. You've made a difference in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Miles.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Moore has stated a lot of my opinions very well. But I do want to say to you directly, Mr. Davis, I don't think this would have happened without you. And I know you've talked about the partnerships and the role we all have to play, but I really think it was your persistence and your passion to see that site be developed, and be developed in a way that's really going to put healthcare on the map here in the city of Brampton. So I wanted to recognize that and thank you very much. It was a difficult decision for those of us who are on this council to make a commitment of a further tax or levy or what have you on our citizens. But what we learned really quickly, which I think is, it certainly speaks to the power of community engagement, is that our community said quite clearly that when someone they care about falls ill, whether it's, a visit to the emergency or if they have a chronic disease, they need to know that they are going to get the absolute best health care possible. And they made that commitment to us through saying, yes, go ahead, and we support providing the money that is needed to ensure the hospital takes place. And I agree with you, it wouldn't have happened if this council didn't do that. But again, I take it back to you. You pushed and you pressured and you advocated, but at the end of the day, I think we all have something that we can feel really, really proud of. So I do want to thank you very much for doing that. And we just look forward to the doors opening and the future.
Yeah, me too.
Councillor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And similar to what Councillor Miles was saying, I'd like to thank you too, Neil. You're a humble guy. You don't take credit for anything you do, but you know, one of the things I wanted to speak about was the community. This is really something that we've done quite a bit, but not necessarily to the extreme that we've done it. This community really came together for this site, and thanks to you and a few other people who really put the pressure on the community, on us to do it. I get paid to do what I do, and I remember I sat on a committee along with Councillor Moore, Councillor Sanderson, and Mayor Fennell. I think the mayor probably had something to do with that committee being set up, as the province set up. I can't remember what it was called, but it was run by Terry Miller. And the object of that committee was to decide what to do with this site, now that it was an empty site. And came up with the ideas and started the ball rolling on that. And I learned a lot sitting on that about how the community come together, because most of those people there were volunteers that were, like Terry, I don't believe Terry got paid. I think he was a volunteer for doing that. John McDermott was sitting there, a former MPP. And a lot of other people that I didn't even know, some people from the Lynn that were being paid to be there, but they were just advisors for it. It really started the ball rolling on this site on what to do, and then you and yourself and a few others, we put the pressure on the community and the council to do something. And you're right, if we hadn't come up with the $60 million, it never would have happened here. But to me, that was an easy decision for us to do that. That's part of what we do as council members, act on behalf of the community, and the community had to come up with $120 million somehow. We continue to do that, and we all will continue to do that. But I wanted to speak a little bit, not only thanking you guys for what you're doing now, but with those people from behind the scenes that really back then started the ball rolling. And sometimes we all tend to forget about where it really started. And, they're not here today, some of those people that, I don't see any of them here today that sat on that committee. But we should, John Sanderson's here, yeah, he's up there. But John got paid, so did I, so did Councillor Moore, and so did the mayor. I'm more talking about the ones that were the volunteers that sat there that really put a lot of their time and effort. It was a lot of work. And I, for one, know nothing about healthcare. All I know is try to stay out of the hospital. That's about it. Unfortunately, my old age and my knees have kept me there quite a bit lately, but and thank goodness, I'm really glad now that I kind of put the time in back then to try to help my part of trying to do things so that we can, because now I'm using it. Anyway, thank you very much.
Councillor Bowman.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much for the presentation, Neil and I have to echo what everybody has said so far, Neil. I know you're very humble, but I know Councillor Wells and myself work on the Healthy Communities Initiative with you behind the scenes, and you're quite passionate and vocal behind the scenes. So people should know that you're not always quiet and staid like you are today. Very good presentation, though. I did have a question. We're reaching substantial completion. That'll be the end of October. The $40 million gets turned over. We still have 20 million. That'll be sometime in 2018. I'm not sure the exact date. Is there anything that triggers the next 20 million? What is it? Is it substantial completion of phase 2? What triggers the next 20 million being turned over?
It is a substantial completion of phase 2. We got ministry approval for the business case for phase 2. We are now that we're freeing up the opportunity, I think we'll work on our partnership plans immediately, and we've got approval for the business case for complex continuing care of roughly 199 beds on the site. And so we're going to move that forward, and there's a whole ministry process. So I appreciate the levy. I think ends in 2 or 3 years, and you'll have that money available. I can't tell you exactly when we will get ministry approval for phase 2, but that money will only go in once there's a building up.
Okay, so my follow-up question to that is, what does this council need to do to make sure that the time limit between now and substantial completion of that second building is the least it can possibly be?
I think you just continue to dialogue with leadership around the table here locally, and then often, as we had to do with Peel, you have to raise the voice beyond the local table and tables, and you have to speak to those who actually make those decisions at Queen's Park. We're not quite there yet. We've got to do our end and make sure we've given the right project to the ministry for approval. We've got to complete our work. So for the time being, it's you and me now no longer at that table, speaking to those who do sit at that table and make sure it moves along.
Okay, and just finally, the economic development potential for this area is huge. And I think it's going to be something incredible. I don't think anybody can even imagine how substantial the investment in that area is going to be. So this is going to be an exciting time over the next 3 or 4 years, and I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks.
Can I just speak to that? I do want to say that is, and Dennis knows, I sit on a steering committee with the city and the hospital folks to try and drive an economic cluster, not just on the site, beyond the site. And when I gave my presentation a couple of months ago, I gave an example of Chicago and their healthcare district. And they're the gold standard. We're not aiming for the gold standard. But the number of people employed in that area is just a remarkable number. I think it's 50,000 visits a day to that area, 3.1 billion in economic activity. It's got, I think, 80 businesses that just feed off the healthcare cluster and are part of the healthcare cluster. So, healthcare clustering is our opportunity, quite frankly, and let's use it. So I won't have a formal role, but I do think it is, and I know you chair the committee that will give voice to this, but let's pick it up and let's do something with it.
Thank you.
Before I go to my next speaker, maybe I can suggest that we as a city can be better advocates on behalf of the hospital at the AMO conference in August. The Association of Municipalities of Ontario and a number of council members have indicated their desire to go, and we are setting up a meeting with the Ministry of Health, so we would be happy to take your message there. I will be there.
Appreciate it.
Councillor Wellens.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Again, thank you, Neil. I know you've been spearheading this from the get-go. I got on board with the foundation, I think it was 2010, due to your persistence in getting me on, and I thank you for that. I'd also like to please pass along thank you to your father. I know your father was instrumental in healthcare, Brampton, back from, I believe it was 1959 when he sat on a board, and I actually have the old paper from that, and I wish I had brought it with me. It shows how we lost our accreditation of a hospital back then because of our size. So we lost our hospital status. We were forced to build the Peel Memorial Hospital that we knew of in the recent years. So as a person being born there, and at the old hospital, actually, I don't want to date myself, but before Peel Memorial was actually built as a hospital, and my kids were born at Peel Memorial Hospital as well, and both my parents and my wife have received excellent care there. So I'm glad to see it back, and you've got my support get-go from now on. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you.
So I'm just going to say thank you for the thank yous, but honestly, what was exciting is what happened here and what drove everything out in this community. It brought us together, and to be a part of that was an absolute privilege. It took some time, took some effort, but honestly, the reward, and you know, all certain folks do is sort of coalesce. The idea has to be right, and it was right. The passion was there. Community stepped up. So thank you for the thank you, but I want to thank everybody through that camera for them stepping up. Thanks.
So don't go anywhere. Neil, I just want to thank you for being here. It's ironic that you say you're being pastured out. I cannot even imagine that. And to hear that you're quiet and staid, I have no experience of that. We've had many disagreements and challenging, heated conversations about the hospital. I thank you for being there all those years, and I know you're going to stay at the table. And thank you for thanking our staff. This is a very big project, and we appreciate your acknowledgement of the work that our staff do to expedite the work, so thank you for that. I think this presentation is very exciting. I think the public will be very, they're going to get their lips, you know, to taste a little bit of what's coming, and I think but I think it's also sobering. The fact that we have so much renal and kidney disease in this part of Ontario is very, very sobering, and I think that's something that we hope that our integrated health and wellness staff will help turn that curve around, because it is extremely troubling to me to have residents with those kinds of serious chronic diseases so prevalent in this community. I think delivering healthcare in Brampton has been a challenge for a very long time, and it's been one of the reasons I left this table, and to try and make things better at the province. So I think that we have lots of people to thank. We want to thank you. We want to thank the volunteers. We want to thank our healthcare workers. There's a lot of people who've been working under some very trying conditions, and certainly our residents. And you're right, Neil, we cannot take our foot off the gas. The promise that Orlando has made to us allows us to be the beneficiaries of doubling of any donations, and I think certainly at the golf tournament that the hospital held on Monday, people came forward during that dinner to offer their assistance. So we want to encourage our residents to continue to step forward to help our hospital be the best that it can be. But you're right, the challenge is not just opening the doors. The challenge comes the day after you open the doors and making sure you deliver the kind of health care that we all expect. So thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us an update, and we look forward to seeing you in the coming months with more good news. Thank you very much. Thanks. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Dillon, second by Councillor Bowman, with regards to the delegations to receive Neil Davis and Ed Ford. All those in favor? Those opposed? That's carried. And the motion moved by Councillor Pelletier, second by Councillor Moore, which is item 8.1. This is with regards to the city's pledge to provide future funding support to the development of the new Peel Memorial Centre for Integrated Health and Wellness Initiative. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, our next item was a delegation. I understand the delegation is not going to be here, and we have some correspondence that Mr. Fay is going to distribute. Council, do you want to stand this item down and we can review it and then come do the rest of our agendas so that perhaps you have a chance to read this? Do you want to do that? I think we can. Under 10.1, Mr. Clerk, is that possible? Okay. All right. 8.1, this item was dealt with as part of the delegation 6.1. 8.2 was approved as part of our consent motion. 8.3 was approved as part of the consent motion. We are now at item 10, committee reports or minutes. We have 5 sets of minutes today, and under council meeting procedures, the committee chair introduces their committee report or minutes and summarizes the matters considered. They're now being brought forward to council today for ratification. Councillor Moore, you chaired Planning and Infrastructure Services Committee, which met on May 30th. Committee minutes are here for council approval. I now pass the chair to you to lead council in the consideration of the committee minutes.
Turn on my microphone. Thank you. Members of committee, it was a very busy meeting that we had. There were a number of additions to the agenda. We had a report from staff on the Municipal Comprehensive Review. We had an addition of a presentation from Colin Chung. We had a number of items of correspondence, and we had an update on the downtown sewer, regional sewer and water main replacement project. Under delegations, we also had a presentation on the Greenland Securement Program for the city in addition to the MCR. We had, council supported the conversion of a number of sites in the city, Woolway Development, Alpha Stone, Castlemore Countryside properties, 10534 here Ontario Street, Attack Holborn, and Royal Pine. A number of those were supported by members of council for conversion, a couple or several that were not supported. There were three numbered Ontario companies, First Gulf Business Park and the new Urban Land Corporation. There were 4 permits to demolish residential properties, 3 permits to amend the sign bylaw in the city, and 1 city-initiated sign bylaw. Variance, 8 reports were received under Public Works. I'm not going to go through all of these as it was, as I said, a busy agenda. We received the minutes for 2 subcommittees, the Brampton Heritage Board and the Cycling Advisory Committee. We received correspondence from the Region of Peel on the Ministry of Transport Peel Commercial Vehicle Survey Report, and we had a closed meeting agenda item. Councillor Dillon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have regarding 10.1, I have a motion to submit.
Okay. Can I have a copy of it, or is it available?
It's available, I think it's going to be on screen, but also the clerk has it.
Which item is it relating to, Councillor Dillon?
To the conversion. Oh, the recommendations rather, sorry. 148.
148? So that would be page 24. It's on the downtown sewer and water main?
It's 148. Regarding the conversions.
The conversions are not recommendation number 148. Mr. Clerk, maybe you can help me out on this?
Yes, Madam Chair, through you, it is on page, my apologies, it is recommendation 128.
128?
Yes, that was an error. I was assisting the councillor and I mixed up some numbers. So
that's okay.
It's on page 10 of 31 or page 10.1-10.
Councillor Dillon, can I ask you, since this is quite a lengthy motion that you've put before us, can I ask you to go through it with us?
Can I speak to it first?
Sorry?
Can I speak to the motion?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so I've submitted a motion today, so I'm just going to speak to it very quickly before we get to it. The city of Brampton, with a population of 627,000 people, is the 9th largest city in Canada, the 3rd largest city in the GTA, and the 2nd fastest growing city in Canada among its 50 largest. The city has numerous advantages to invest in, including its proximity to the Pearson Airport, key industrial sectors, immediate access to highways, home to Canada's largest railway terminal, and the center of Canada's major transportation corridors. It's also located within 1 day's drive to 158 million potential consumers and customers. However, the city has and continues to steer away from this competitive advantage and continues to decrease its competitive standing in the GTA with its continual conversion of valuable employment lands to residential. A little bit of background. Now, since 1989, the city has converted approximately 1,500 acres of employment land to residential. That's 1,500 acres of land as Brampton residents you could potentially be working at. There's 1,500 acres of land which could have been utilized for your kids coming out of university and college. There's 1,500 acres of land which could have been home to industry, to an IT park, or a life in health sciences companies, That's 1,500 acres of land housing tens of thousands of jobs. It could have meant you can not only live in Brampton, but work in Brampton instead of having to travel to Vaughan, Toronto, Mississauga, Markham, Waterloo, or other cities every day. It could have meant less commuting and more time with your family. And it could have meant a more diverse tax base for the city and lower residential taxes. But when we convert employment land, it's permanent. There's no turning back. We've essentially waved the white flag. We tell our residents that building a city where you can live, work, and keep taxes low isn't as important as building a city where you can simply come to rest your head at night. I, like all my colleagues, love this city, but the reality is that we've become a bedroom city. And the statistics back it up. When you divide the number of jobs by the number of residents in a municipality, it should be about 50%, meaning there's one job for every two people. And this is a measure used by every city to see how it's doing. When you are 35% or below, you're classified as a bedroom city. In Brampton, unfortunately, is at 33%, which is about one job for every three people. Hence why the majority of Bramptonians work outside of our city. That's why there's an ongoing traffic problem. There's less opportunity. The mandate given in the last election by residents in Ward 9 and 10 and across the city was to stop building houses, give an opportunity for jobs to be created, and to start building a diversified city. We're not just a downtown. We have 10 wards in Brampton whose residents all deserve better. And I'm confident and optimistic that we can do better and we're doing better. But that brings us to the present. On May 30th at the Planning Committee, this council approved the conversion of 70 more acres of employment land, mostly into residential. The majority of these conversions are in the east of Brampton, within the Gorda Highway 50 and Castlemore to Queen area, an area which directly affects the constituents of Ward 9 and 10. It was stated by staff that many of these lands, mostly the smaller parcels, are not suitable for employment anymore because they've been engulfed by a residential development. That being said, there's one particular parcel of land which is 44 acres on the northeast corner of Gore and Queen, which was originally rejected for conversion to residential in December 2015, but for some reason accepted by staff in January 2016. Staff indicated that in this section of the city we need 860 jobs to satisfy our broader jobs plan, and the applicant came back and said they can do that in 7 acres by building offices, but will build houses on the remaining 37 acres, and staff agreed. My opinion, and the opinion of most residents that I've spoken to about this, is that the remaining 37 acres should also be used for even more employment, which is what it was originally meant for. It's right near the 427, near key transport corridor on Highway 50, and on a major road in Queen Street, and can assist in the job situation in wards 8, 9, and 10 in particular. So this is planning staff stating that we're going to meet our jobs targets with these conversions. But at the same time, we have our staff in economic development telling us that we're working on an economic development master plan, which hasn't even started yet, but it's expected to be finished in 2018. It is our economic development roadmap for the next 25 years to attract business in sectors like health science, IT, and advanced manufacturing, and will guide us on who and how much business to attract. So it seems we have two factions not working in unison. And what logic is telling me now is that until an economic Development Master Plan is done. Let's not give up. Let's not continue making mistakes of the past by building and converting lands just because. And let's hold off on these conversions and future conversions until we might need that land. And so that's what this motion is asking for today. So I do have a motion here. Unless you want me to read it?
It's on the board, and we all have a copy of it. I think if I can distill it down to make it more easy to
I think it would be
follow.
beneficial if I read it out.
Do you,
No, but I think for anybody who's in attendance, I think it might be beneficial for me to read it for them.
do you have a seconder for the motion?
I do.
Okay,
Medeiros, Council Medeiros.
okay.
So we're going to read it out.
If you wish to read it, Councillor Dillon, that's fine.
So whereas the Brampton City Council needs to focus on and reflect the 2016 to 2018 strategic plan when making decisions affecting the city and its residents, whereas Brampton is expected to grow to a 2041 forecasted population the order of 890,000, with a forecasted employment number the order of 329,000, which, despite the city's competitive advantages, will only achieve an activity rate of approximately 38%. Whereas in 2015, the city of Brampton's residential construction rate comprised 89% of the 388 million in total building permits, and in 2016, 71% of the 420 million in building permits, compared to Mississauga's 47% of its total 1.3 billion total building permits. Whereas the initial report on the Municipal Comprehensive Review for Employment on May 25th, 2015, prepared by Hempson, states that it is important to retain as much employment land as possible, both inside the built boundary and in the greenfield lands designated for growth to 2031 and beyond, because these lands and the related employment lands cannot be replaced once redesignated. Whereas Brampton currently has a lower activity rate compared to other large urban municipalities across the GTA significantly, provincially and nationally, at 33%, creating a larger gap in residents compared to job opportunities in the city, resulting in significant net out-commuting. Whereas in the City of Brampton's official plan, consideration needs to be given to where the city can strengthen and clarify policies to reduce the opportunities for conversion of employment lands to other uses that may be permitted within existing policy. Whereas the final Hempson report in May 2016 concludes that there is sufficient land for residential use and no need for more conversions, because it is important to protect employment lands in greenfields. Whereas the supply of employment land is finite, whereas the City of Brampton Economic Development Master Plan will determine our economic direction for the next 25 years. Therefore, it be resolved that, number one, recommendation Planning Services 128, 2016 be amended to refer back to Planning and Infrastructure Services Committee for further consideration after the city's Economic Development Master Plan is completed and adopted by Council. The following clause 2 of the recommendation, that the following requests for conversion to non-employment uses in the official plan not be supported in principle, as described in the following reports: Rural Development, B. Alpha Stone, C. Castlemore Country Properties, D. 10534 Ontario Street, E. TAP Holborn, F. Royal Pine, and number 3, any future employment land conversion requests not be processed by the city until after the city's Economic Development Master Plan is completed and adopted by Council.
Thank you very much. If I can get some clarification from the clerk on the subsequent portions to recommendation number 128, whether or not, I understand number 3 would not be a deferral. Number 4, would it need to be deferred as well? Maybe I'll refer to staff or to the clerk. I'm trying to identify whether or not 4, 5, and perhaps even 6, depending on whether or not there's a referral back to staff. will receive the 2 pieces of identification, but would 4 and 5 need to be deferred as well, or referred?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm reading clauses 4 and 5 of the recommendation 128 now, and if I recall, they were other related lands, so I probably will defer to planning staff on this, but the clause 4 says that city staff be directed to undertake an amendment to Schedule G, the secondary plan areas of the official plan and Highway 27 industrial secondary plan to revise the boundary and include the lands located in the triangle bounded by Castlemore Road, Old Castlemore Road, and Highway 50, currently located within the brand new secondary plan, Area 41, as shown on Figure 4 to the staff report. Clause 5, the intent is that staff be directed to commence the Planning Act process by scheduling a statutory public meeting regarding an official plan amendment for the sites recommended for employment conversion as described in the recommendation 2, and the boundary adjustment for Highway 427 industrial secondary plan is described in recommendation 4. So I understand the intent of clauses 4 and 5 is to implement the employment lands conversion if clause 2 carries. So they should be moved.
So they would be referred as well as, okay.
Yes.
I wanted any speakers to the motion to understand that they are related and would need to be included as part of the deferral motion, or referral motion, I guess. Councillor Medeiros.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for clarification for my colleagues, as Councillor Dillon is a representative of the area, and I do appreciate the intent and spirit of what he's trying to do, and there's a piece here that I could support, but the first 2 parts of his motion I can't support. I made the decision, it was a recorded vote, but just as a courtesy for him and to allow for a public debate, I seconded the motion. So I just wanted to make sure that people were clear about my position. But I would request that we pull out, so 1 and 2, if we can vote item number 3 separate, if we can separate that part of the motion, I would like to request that.
You want to vote on number 3 separately?
Yeah, number 3.
Well, if there's a referral of number 2, we'll have to vote on it separately in any event.
Okay.
Because 4 and 5, if a referral of number 2 passes, we'll have to move a subsequent motion to refer 4 and 5.
Okay.
Which leaves 1 and 3 to vote on separately anyway. So I don't know whether I'll be turning it over to the mayor for that part of the vote, but I'm happy to do that and then pass the rest of you. You want me to handle the mess? Okay, great.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Miles.
I just want to start off by saying I certainly don't support the referral. What this motion does is it takes any decisions out of the hands of the municipality and gives it to the entire municipal board. So that's the net result of this total motion. If I could just ask staff first off, the municipal comprehensive review, how many staff worked on it? How long did it take? And how much revenue did we expend on completing the municipal comprehensive review as a municipality?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we did have city staff working on this in the policy and growth management division. So we did have staff working on it. In addition to that, we had consultant work done. We had Hempson working on the MCR, and there were 2 other reports by other consultants that were referred to in preparing the MCR. So there were significant resources put towards it. I don't have a value for you at this point.
So, excuse me, considerable expertise, both municipally and external to the corporation, got together, compiled their intellectual resources, and came up with their recommendation to council.
Through you, Madam Mayor, correct. As suggested, it is a municipal comprehensive review. So
very comprehensive.
That is the intent of looking at the requests all as a package.
How much
And
time did it take?
We have been working on this for almost 3 years.
3 years. Okay, 3 years, and we're going to throw it out. Next question. Once an application is filed with the City of Brampton for development or redevelopment, how much time do we have as a municipality to deal with the application before the developer can just take it to the OMB? There's so many.
Yes, I was just double checking because there will be changes coming, but at this point, we have 180 days. So when an application is submitted, and it's a complete application, and we circulate it, we have 180 days. There is, some flexibility around that on applicants as well, but as you know, an applicant is in a position at that time, after the 180 days, to refer it to the OMB for a non-decision. Just for your information, the conversion requests that are before us, we don't have applications in on all of them. So, we were not in a position to process an application until the municipal comprehensive review is complete.
Okay.
So for the most of them, we do have applications that are running against that clock.
Okay. So some of them we do, though.
Yes.
Some of them we do. So basically, once it's filed with the municipality, we have 180 days to process. If we don't process it, it goes into the hands of the intermunicipal board. So basically, that's what's going to happen in this case if we pass this resolution. The municipality will not...
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, that is correct. However, it is provincial policy that we do not deal with any conversions without the benefit of there having been a municipal comprehensive review, so I would expect that would be taken into account.
So, but we have done a municipal comprehensive review on these properties.
However, it has not been approved, and through Madam Mayor, the next step as laid out in this report is that once we have approval in principle, then we actually start the real formal process, in that we will require a statutory public meeting and go through the OPA process. And through that process, there can be appeals to that.
Okay, so I need to clarify this, and perhaps through to legal. The referral or deferral of these properties, if we failed to do anything as a municipality, if we deferred it until we did an economic development study, would the developers not have the opportunity to take it to the intermunicipal board?
Through you, Madam Mayor, if there are applications that are outstanding, as pointed out by Ms. McDonald, the developer, if council does not make a decision within 180 days, at that point, the developer can appeal the non-decision to the OMB. That would be up to the developer to decide. So if any one of these people make applications for an OPA amendment
to us,
to the city, within 180 days, if a decision is not made, it's not automatic. The developer can then take the initiative and can then appeal it to the Ontario Municipal Board.
Okay, so that was understood before when I started asking the questions. What I'm getting at is the motion is putting off any conversion requests until we have an economic development master plan. Have we started it, an economic development master plan?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the official status of the Economic Development Master Plan is that it's been identified in the City of Brampton Strategic Plan, but it has not started. Our intent is to bring forward terms of reference later this year, as well as a budget request to do the master plan.
Okay.
So it has not started at this point.
So no date. Thank you. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May need to go in camera on this. Ask legal staff. I'm not sure which ones here have applications and which ones don't. But if we make this decision today, is there potentially, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, 11 weeks, 12 weeks, 13 weeks, 14 weeks, 15 weeks, 16 weeks, 17 weeks, 18 weeks, 19 weeks, 20 weeks, 21 weeks, 22 weeks, 23 weeks, 24 weeks, 25 weeks, 26 weeks, 27 weeks, 28 weeks, 29 weeks, 30 weeks, 31 weeks, 32 weeks, 33 weeks, 34 weeks, 35 weeks, 36 weeks, 37 weeks, 38 weeks, 39 weeks, 40 weeks, 41 weeks, 42 weeks, 43 weeks, 44 weeks, 45 weeks, 46 weeks, 47 weeks, 48 weeks, 49 weeks, 50 weeks, 51 weeks, 52 weeks, 53 weeks, 54 weeks, 55 weeks, 56 weeks, 57 weeks, 58 weeks, 59 weeks, 60 weeks, 61 weeks, 62 the opportunity for an OMB hearing to start from those who might have an application in now, rather than 180 days?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I mean, as suggested previously, the non-decision timelines would be running on applications that are already in place with the municipality, so that potential exists. It doesn't mean there will be an appeal, but that potential exists.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I think it's a little unfair that we're I know what Councilor Dillon voted on at planning, so that's his prerogative. The rest of us voted for these conversions based on the staff report, based on a lot of different things. And the folks, some of the folks that are on these properties, own these properties, have applications on these properties, were in the audience. They're not here. They had the opportunity, had we not done that, to speak that night, but they don't have the opportunity now. So it's a little unfair. One of my concerns, major concerns, is it's not always as black and white as what it's made out to be. I have certainly number 2, I cannot support, and I don't think Councilor Moore could support, because we have a piece of property in our area that we would jump for joy if somebody would come and say, we want to convert this into residential, and that's, it's Hopi Avenue. That Hopi Avenue is a blight in this city. It's a blight to all the residents in my area, and it's not good for the city. So if something was to come in tomorrow, I would jump on the opportunity to have Hopi Avenue change, get those trucks out of there, get the industries out of there, and build some residential houses there. Because Hopi Avenue was built back in the 40s and 50s when there was no houses around it, and then houses came around it, and it's not good for us. It's not good for the residents. Another example of a conversion that was done, and I'm not saying we're perfect. We've probably made mistakes over the years. I'm sure we have. In fact, I know, in my opinion, council made mistakes, and so some that I didn't support. Another example of a conversion, a large conversion in the city of Brampton that had to be done, was a Brampton brick site. Brampton brick site in the middle of the city, blasting going on, houses shaking, was converted from a pit to which was very highly industrial use, to residential. Perfect example of a reason why you'd want to convert some properties in that. We certainly wouldn't want blasting to be going on. I don't know how many years now that residence has been there, probably 15 to 20. We wouldn't want that blasting and that kind of trucking to be going on in our city. That's why we do conversions. It's not always about trying to keep industries and commercial properties going. It's about the city growing, and about sometimes how things change, and we have to make those decisions. And I don't know every one of these. I mean, I haven't walked every one of these like I've walked the Hopi Avenues and the Brampton Pitlands to know that it made sense to change those. But I trust the staff have done their work, and it was a good report, I thought. So it's a difficult one. It's not black and white. It's not like you can say we're making a mistake. If we convert these over, we might be making a huge mistake if we don't convert them over, which is, I think, what staff were saying. But I would like an opportunity for staff, and it might have to be in camera, to give us an idea of what kind of money we'd be spending on taxpayers' money if we're on the OMB on all 6 of these applications, because it's huge.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Councillor Spoke. I'm sorry, were you going to respond?
Through you, Madam Chair. I want to correct the earlier advice, because these employment conversions are a very specific kind of scenario in the Planning Act, and there is actually a section in the Planning Act that provides that there is no right of appeal if you're trying to remove lands from an employment area. So in the normal course, if someone filed an OPA, you would expect the potential for non-decision appeal. But in this very scoped scenario of the employment land conversions and removal from such an area, there is no right of appeal. No, I'm saying that they would not have the ability to appeal, and the decision
that's before council right now, the motion was in principle to support the certain applications, and the motion that's been tabled to defer the matter, until this study is done, that potentially could be an action item. The expectation generally is that these studies are done in conjunction with an OP review. There was direction from this council for staff to undertake the review, and they went through a very, detailed, diligent process to come back with their recommendations, which are now, were in a public report to committee. And so that staff position is out there. And as far as the future litigation, I guess I'm saying this is a unique scenario where the normal appeal rights don't exist, but it would be an unusual scenario, I think it's fair to say, after staff have undertaken a review, and made recommendations to then defer that matter, not indefinitely, but certainly it seems for a long period of time to reconsider.
On those applications that are in now, on these particular ones, are you saying that if the application's in and the application is to convert from commercial industrial to residential, we don't approve that? They can't appeal it?
If it's a removal, if it's an official plan amendment, if that's the application we're talking about under Section 22 of the Planning Act, to remove lands from an employment area, they don't have a right of appeal.
So they can't appeal the decision of that application?
Right.
Yeah, good question. What if they're keeping the same amount of employment,
But adding residential.
but adding residential to it?
They're saying the same amount of employment, but adding residential.
I guess this is more complicated than what, it's...
Through you, Madam Mayor, this is becoming more and more complicated, and we would need to sit back, perhaps prepare a report that we could have a fulsome discussion in closed session on this. Right now, we've given you some aspects that are directly from the Act, but there are some hypotheticals here that we can go back and we can provide council with some action on.
So the decision of planning was basically in principle to do something, correct? But this decision isn't in principle. If we support this, this is not in principle, this is a direct decision.
Through you, Madam Mayor, this is still, if you read number 2 there, it really is in principle in that there is a whole official plan amendment process that if you agree in principle to this, that we will then start, which will involve a statutory public meeting and approving an official plan amendments to allow for all of these. So, in fact, this is still getting your approval in principle to allow us to go through and do the official work to convert the properties.
So are staff in favor of this motion?
Pardon?
Are staff in favor of this motion?
Staff's position is laid out in the report that we brought forward to you.
This is contrary to that, though. So staff are not in favor of this motion, then?
So we've given you our position in
Sure
our
you can.
report. Well, we've given you our position in our report that came to PNIS on Monday.
Thank you.
Councillor Sparvieri.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of questions to start. Just like to state for the record that I really struggled with this, supporting the staff report last week on Monday, just this Monday passed, time flies. The main reason is that back in '93 when we did the OP review at the time, I thought exactly as Councillor Dillon is thinking today. I thought that this area, Bram East, was just an excellent area for really upscale type development because of its attributes, locational attributes. Unfortunately, at the time, the council of the day chose to push the employment lands further north in Ward 10 to north of Castlemore Road. I thought they should have extended right down to Highway 7, but that didn't happen, and so most of those lands that I feel were the most ideal lands for high order development are now filled with houses along Highway 50. So that's sort of, not much we can do about that. Now, I also realize that the small blocks of land that were designated for employment around the Gore Road and Highway 50, Highway 7, they were just too small to really be attractive for attracting the type of development Councilor Dillon mentioned today, like the Googles or the IBMs or the high-tech or medical type users. And so here we are 15 years later. I think it was the area started developing around 2000, and 15 years later, or 16 years later, and those small parcels are still waiting for someone to come along and develop. So I have some specific questions to Mr. Kutterjar, through the chair. We have seen some substantial users come to the West Brampton, the Steeles and Highway 407, Mississauga Road area, places like Loblaws head office, Air Canada head office, Canon head office, and now I hear that Amazon is coming there with a huge facility employing 2,000 or 3,000 people. I think that's coming next there. So through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to ask Mr. Kutterjar, has any of these large users expressed, did they express an interest in locating in Bram East, where we're hoping that these lands that are being proposed to be converted to residential? Has there been any interest whatsoever in the past 15 years?
Through you, Madam Chairman, the reference to the Bram West area, the Churchill Business Park, I believe is what you're referring to in your Orlando area and north of Steeles. Those industries looked at Brampton comprehensively, looked at Brampton site selection opportunities in relation to other areas, other jurisdictions in Ontario. So when they look at Brampton, they look at all site opportunities, and many of them are very familiar with the inventory in Brampton, and they, through their site selection process and through their due diligence, landed where they did at that location. Proximity to the highways, proximity to their own labor force and talent pool, business costs, and so on were key factors. So when they do make their decision, they do look at Brampton comprehensively in terms of its inventory. Again, they also look at other communities and look at their inventories on a competitive basis.
So through the chair, when this exercise that staff has gone through the last 3 years to look at these requests, these applications to convert these small blocks of land, mainly in the east side of Brampton, was your department involved in that assessment?
Through you, Madam Chairman, economic development and planning over the years have worked very closely together on a number of different policies. Economic development supports the MCR. It is an important economic development tool. It's an important planning tool for evaluating conversions. So we support the MCR work. While we're not involved directly in the technical specifics related to this site, we are actively involved in working with planning on commenting on different policies and applications. So we do work closely with the planning department.
So your department was in support of this recommendation, sir?
Again, through you, Madam Chairman, we do support the MCR process, and we support the position brought forward by staff.
Okay, so now, going forward, and I really appreciate Councillor Dillon's efforts to safeguard Brampton's future, and especially employment lands, and certainly we don't really need any more residential lands, as pointed out, but I think we need to be realistic and really have a feeling or an understanding of whether these lots that are before us for conversion have any potential, whether it be near future or distant future, for meaningful employment opportunities. Did your department look at that, whether maybe the last 15 years just weren't right? There was no interest in these lands for employment, but there may be some interest in the next 15 years or longer?
Through you, Madam Chairman, I'll defer to the experts in the planning department, but I do know through this process they did engage external advisors on the economic development rationale, the planning rationale, related to the specifics for each of the parcels. So the expertise was brought to the table to look at the planning rationale and the economic rationale, but in terms of the specifics for any given site, I would defer to my colleagues in planning.
Through the chair. We did look carefully at each of the parcels, and as did the consultants that we retained to assist us, as Chief Kudichar has said, to be looking at it from the viability of the parcels being used for employment uses in the future. Without going through each one of the parcels with you right now, generally, in part due to decisions that have been made in the past for lands in proximity to some of these parcels, they do not provide high potential for use for employment in the future, either because of the way the access is to the properties now or their proximity to residential uses, that they really are not viable for employment now. So we did, as suggested by the title of the review, comprehensively look at each of the 13 requests that were put forward to us, of which 5 of them we felt, given the situation, and we applied the criteria that is established by the province in the growth plan to evaluate conversions, and we're satisfied that the 5 that we have suggested to you for conversion meet all those criteria, and it is appropriate that they be converted for residential use, or for other uses other than employment.
Yeah, through the chair then, in regards to the motion before us, this study, that economic study, Mr. Kudichar, that's underway, when is that going to be happening, and who's going to be doing it?
Through you, Madam Chairman, the timetable for the Economic Development Master Plan is really related to the next 2 years, to 2018. The first step is terms of reference in 2016, heading into 2017 budget with a request for funding to complete the study, and 2017 and 2018 to complete the study for presentation in 2018. So 2018 is our estimated time for completion. The study is going to be led by the Economic Development Office, but it will be a cross-functional approach, working very closely with the Planning Department and other key departments such as Public Works and Parks and Recreation, for example. But the project manager will be the Economic Development Office, and again, working very closely with Heather and her team.
Okay. Now, in the next 2 years, while this is going on, do you foresee, or can you see anything changing while this study takes place, it would change your department's view of these lands?
Through you, Madam Chair, the most significant change in the next 2 years is really going to be around the census that's been completed or underway right now in May and June of 2016. We're expecting the results of the census over the next 2 years, and a key part of the census findings will be related to employment, related to labor force, related to shifts in demographics, and so there are certainly important factors to consider in developing a long-term economic development master plan. So that would be the most significant change, and then, of course, the competitive environment in Brampton and Southern Ontario is changing rapidly. We have some very important trends that are emerging in Brampton and GTA. They'll be taken into consideration in developing the study as well.
So the final question through the chair, going back to what's happening on Steeles Avenue and Mississauga Road 407, where these large employment users are coming to Brampton. And as you said, they looked at Brampton across the board to see whether they want to locate. As Councillor Dillon pointed out in his presentation, Highway 50, Highway 7 has excellent attributes. It has the airport, has the highways, and has easy access to Toronto. So why wouldn't any of these have chosen to locate to Brampton East in this area?
Through you, Madam Chairman, you're absolutely correct, Councillor Spoliari. The attributes of the Brampton East area with the 427 location, the proximity to the airport, centrality to the labor force in Toronto are very attractive. But as you know, there are a number of factors that go into every real estate decision, including availability of land, lot geometry, servicing status. So all these factors are taken into consideration when a company decides eventually where to locate. Specifically taking one corporation along the Mississauga Road area and stating why they didn't select another location, that would be something that they would have as their information. But we do know significantly that the availability of the land, the parcel size, the proximity to the 407, the lands being ready to go to development were all critical factors. But the Highway 50 corridor is a very attractive location in Brampton's future with respect to business park planning in the north part of Highway 50, the northeast part of Brampton, and certainly along the corridor right down south to Highway 7. So it is an attractive location.
So you're saying that these lands are within south of Castlemore and Highway 7 and Highway 50, so you're saying that these could still be attractive in the future?
For large industrial business park uses, the most attractive opportunity in the future will be the lands to the immediate north of Castlemore Road to Mayfield. That new evolving secondary plan area will be a very attractive business park location in Brampton's future. So the opportunity for industrial and office campus development, that's a really interesting area, very attractive area for potentially similar kinds of uses you have in the Mississauga Road corridor.
So you're saying that in order to attract these users, they have to be in a larger block, a larger setting. They don't necessarily want to go on a 40-acre parcel. They want to be in a large industrial park type. That's a trend?
Through you, Madam Chairman, again, the site selection criteria for every company is slightly different, but the inventory of land options on a larger basis is really important to companies, and the servicing and the status of those lands for development is also a key consideration. So business park setting for office campus, general industrial, standard industrial, prestige industrial is an important factor when a company is looking for a place to locate.
So then just simply this area in question that we're discussing then just doesn't have those those characteristics. So that's why staff's recommending it. It's not gonna happen. It's not. So even if we wait another 3 years for this year's study to be done, it cannot change? Can your view change on that?
Through you, Madam Chairman, again, the Economic Development Master Plan is really intended to provide a long-range vision and strategies related to Brampton's economic development future. It is not intended to recast the population and employment forecast from the Planning Department. It's really not intended to look at sites specifically for certain kinds of development, but it's intended to identify economic development strategies over a 25-year horizon. So no, at this point in time, its intent is not to look at individual parcels of land for specific types of development, but rather to look at the opportunity for attracting sectors and clusters of activity to certain parts of the city.
Okay. So finally, his answers sparked more questions. If we want to recoup or make up or provide additional lands to really make up for the loss of these 40 or 50 acres here, we can easily add another 40, 50 acres to the Heritage Heights Industrial Park so that rather than it be maybe 2,000 acres, it will be 2,050 acres or 2,100 acres in order to have that setting where these large corporations want to be. Is that something that we're going to be looking at? Through the chair.
Through the chair. Through our review of these conversion requests, we are satisfied that if there's 300 hectares put aside in Heritage Heights, that we will still be able to meet the forecast requirements.
But we heard, through you, Madam Chair, we heard that rather than try to achieve 3763, we could go 60/40.
I think his governor was telling him his time.
Can Brampton achieve a 60/40 assessment ratio? Is that something that could be achieved, or is that something that is not possible to achieve?
There would have to be additional jobs added that would be beyond what the requirements are for us under the provincial forecasts. So yes, it would mean a change to how we looked at and how much land we would have to put aside.
So through the chair, you're saying that the province actually tells us how many jobs we have to provide for long-term growth?
Through you, Madam Chair, as we've discussed in previous reports, the growth plan establishes employment and population forecasts for the whole GTAH, and then it comes down to an allocation to the region of Peel, which is then distributed amongst the municipalities. So at this point, the draft numbers that we are working with for the number of jobs that would be required in 2031 and 2041, we're saying that we can accommodate those with the 300 hectares in Northwest Brampton.
Right. So finally, what we have to do now is get the province to give us more employment numbers and less residential numbers, basically, in order to achieve Councillor Dillon's vision.
True, and or certainly through the distribution process within the region, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Finally?
Yeah, finally.
Okay. Councillor Palenci.
Call the question.
Okay, the question has been called. We have one speaker on the board that has not yet spoken, so we'll go there, but all those in favor of calling the question? That's carried. Councillor Willand, you're the only person who's not spoken.
I'll call for a recorded vote, please.
You'd like a recorded vote on the referral motion?
Yeah, this.
Okay. Thank you. Members of committee, I think the easiest way to do this is I will go through each of the portions of recommendation number 128. A recorded vote has been called on the referral motion, and I'm going to suggest that a referral motion, or a recorded vote on the number 3 be on Councillor Dillon's motion be recorded as well. So on number 1, on page 10 of 31, all those in favor, you want a recorded vote on all 3 of yours. Well, number 1 is simply recommending that there be a referral. So number 1 is somewhat redundant. We're dealing with actually both of them because it's really not a new motion, if I can. The only portion of Councillor Dillon's that is new to you today is number 3, that a future employment land conversion request not be processed by the city until after the city's economic development master plan is completed and adopted by council. That is really the only thing that's new on this motion. Number 2 can be dealt with under the original motion as to whether or not you support a referral of that.
Through you, Madam Chair, if I could be helpful to council, I think there's been reference to Part 3, Part 2. The motion as distributed on hard copy was incorrectly numbered because it was numbered sequentially. The intent of Councillor Dillon's motion has 2 parts only. Part 1, which is on the screen before you, is to refer Clause 2 of Planning Recommendation 128, which is in the minutes on page 10-30, I believe. And the second part of his motion, and Earl will scroll down, is a new motion. So while the paper copy shows 3 for that third one, it really is a 2-part motion.
Okay, so that's the way I was reading it, Mr. Clerk. So I think we can refer to the original motion. I will call a recorded vote, if you wish, on all portions of that. And then we will deal with Councillor Dillon's motion that speaks to number 2 on the board, but number 3 on your printed copy, that speaks to any future employment land conversions not be processed. Is everybody clear? You're not clear?
No.
I have Councillor Dillon on the board first for clarification.
So the first one is, so essentially there's 2 parts to the motion. Number 1 is to refer what's written here under 2, to refer back to planning for further consideration until the economic development master plan is completed. So these are the recent ones. Number 2 would state that any future conversions also not be considered until the master plan, just to make sure that's clear.
So, Mr. Clerk, am I oversimplifying this?
Perhaps yes. I believe if council were to, through your direction, to vote on Councillor Dillon's first motion, which is the referral, which we can scroll back to the top, if that carries, then there's other implications in terms of other clauses in Recommendation 128.
Right. Okay.
If that does not carry, then we can deal with Councillor Dillon's clause Part 2, his second motion, and depending if that carries, then we can deal with the balance of the recommendations.
Then what I will do is call a recorded vote on number 2, sorry, number 1, but number 2 on your printed sheet, the amendment that has been proposed by Councillor Dillon, which is essentially number 2 in the report. Councillor Gibson, you have a question?
Can we work off the screen here? Rather, these numbers I think are confusing us. So are we voting now, Madam Chair, on this, what's on the screen right now, and this is a referral of all those A to Fs?
That's correct.
So that's what our first vote is going to be? Okay.
And a recorded vote has been
The
called.
recorded vote is to refer these, so it's opposite of what we didn't plan. Okay.
That's correct. So, Mr. Clerk, I understand.
All in favor of the motion as presented on the screen, please stand to be counted. Showing in favor of the motion is Councillor Dillon. All opposed to the motion, please stand to be counted. Showing opposed to the motion is Chair Mullow, Councillor Williams, Councillor Palashi, Councillor Scorbielli, Mayor Jeffrey, Councillor Medeiros, Councillor Bowman, Councillor Fortini, Councillor Miles, Councillor Gibson. Madam Chair, the motion does not carry 1 to 10, sorry.
Okay. Then, Mr. Clerk, will call...
Scroll to 2 now.
I'll ask you to call the recorded vote on number 3.
No, 2.
Sorry, number 2.
So part 2 of Councillor Dillon's motion, which is on the screen at the bottom. A recorded vote's been requested. All in favor of this motion, please stand to be counted. Showing in favor of this motion is Councillor Fortini, Councillor Bowman, Councillor Medeiros, Mayor Jeffrey, Councillor Dillon. All opposed to the motion, please stand to be counted. Showing opposed is Councillor Gibson, Councillor Miles, Councillor Scorbielli, Councillor Palashi, Councillor Williams, Chair Moore. Madam Chair, that motion loses 5 to 6.
Thank you. Then, members of committee, well, actually, I think I can turn this back to you, Madam Mayor, because the motion 128, or recommendation 128, remains intact. So I'll turn back all of the minutes and recommendations to you to ratify the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a motion moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Dillon. I believe these minutes are still amended, are they not? Because the motion that would be in these minutes would still, it's a new, different, no? Okay, all right. Minutes be received and the recommendations be approved. All those in favor?
Mayor Jeffrey?
Councillor Ford? Yes?
Sorry, we have to come back to item 6.2, which was a delegation request in regard to recommendations that were in these minutes.
Okay.
153 and 154. The delegate from Luke...
This is the letter that we received.
That's correct. Did not attend, but the letter was distributed. So it's before council, and if it's just for receipt or for consideration, that's...
Councillor Gibson?
I'll move receipt.
Councillor Gibson's moving receipt of the correspondence? Okay. And seconded by Councillor Moore. Okay. Anything else we need to do? All in favor of that? All opposed? That's carried. And now we can officially vote on 10.1 because these minutes have been received. All those in favor again? All those opposed? That's carried. Thank you. All right. Councillor Gibson, you chaired Community and Public Services Committee, which met on June 1st. The committee minutes are here for council's approval. I now pass the chair to you, lead council, in consideration of those committee minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council, you have the minutes of the Community and Public Services Committee of June 1st in front of you. We had a presentation from committee received the presentation from Tina Hickey, Fire Life Safety Education Coordinator, providing details on the Fire Life Safety Education Center in Stephanie's Place. And we also reviewed a nice video on that. We also had Julian Patterson, Chief Public Services Officer, provided an update on the fire that took place on Victoria Park Arena on May 27. And we also had a report from Ann Pritchard, Manager of Relief Services, on the tendencies at below market value in the city of Brampton. We referred that report to Budget Committee for consideration. Are there any questions or comments? See, Councillor Miles?
Yes. I do have a question on the minutes of the in-camera meeting as it relates to this particular report, so I'd like to bring it up in camera.
Which report was that? The tenancies?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Solicitor, can we do that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Miles, may you please repeat the question?
It wasn't a question. So there was a report on 19.1, which was in camera, which was referred to budget. I just want to ask a question on the in-camera report that was referred to budget in camera.
Mr. Solicitor, I'm assuming we have in-camera minutes on that anyway, so that's the time Councillor Miles could ask that question?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can ask the question through the in-camera minutes.
Through the in-camera minutes, that's it? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll pass them back to you for ratification.
Okay. Councillor Miles, it's item 3 in our closed session that you'll want to ask the question about.
Yes.
Council, we have the motion moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded by Councillor Fletcher. Minutes of the Community and Public Services Committee meeting be received and the recommendations be approved. All in favor? All opposed? That's carried. Councillor Bowman, you chair the Economic Development Committee, which met on June 1st. The committee minutes are here for council's approval. I now pass the chair to you to lead council in the consideration of those committee minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Council, you have before you the minutes of the Wednesday, June 1st Economic Development Committee meeting, and at that meeting we had a presentation by Mr. Sohail Saeed on the global relationship opportunities that exist and the benefits of building relationships outside our own economic center here in Canada. We had a report from Cassandra Bakadax, Senior Advisor, on the post-mission information that she had previously given a verbal report on. We had a verbal update from Mr. Saeed again on the Provincial Health and Human Sciences mission to Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, and Madam Mayor also provided us with details on the meetings and some of the things that went on during those events, and was nice enough to bring us back 2 miniature cameras, which we were all marveling at, that you eat as pills, so that was pretty cool. We also had another verbal update from Sohail on the Corporate Business Visitation Program, along with some recommendations to bring that 3 months forward so that all council can make the time to go on these visits with us. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Madam Mayor, I'll pass the minutes back to you for ratification.
Thank you, and I just want to say I didn't get those 2 cameras back, not pointing any fingers. Motion moved by Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Dillon, that the minutes be received and the recommendations be approved. All in favor? All opposed? That's carried. Councillor Medeiros, you chaired Corporate Services Committee, which met on June 1st. The committee minutes are here for council approval. I now pass the chair to you to lead council in the consideration of those committee minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members of council, you have before you the minutes of Corporate Services Committee. Just a quick recap, we got a verbal update from Mayor Jeffrey regarding the Regional Appeal Governance Task Force. We also had an interesting presentation from NPAC regarding the 2016 assessments update, and I must say that Councillor Fortini really stole the show at that meeting, so I'd like to point that out. Thank you. And we had an update report on purchasing activity quarterly report. So if there are any questions or comments? Nope. Back to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. I have a motion moved by Councillor Medeiros, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the minutes of the Corporate Services Committee meeting of June 1st be received and the recommendations be approved. All those in favor? Those opposed? That's carried. Councillor Moore, you chaired Planning and Infrastructure Services Committee, which met this past Monday evening, June 6th. Committee recommendations only are here for council's approval. The committee minutes will be presented to council on June 22nd for receipt. I now pass the chair to you, lead council, in consideration of those committee recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish I could say this meeting was less controversial, but I think we moved through it rather smoothly on Monday evening. We had 3 statutory public meetings that we dealt with. We had an application by M Group, Trevi Homes, recommendation from staff that was deferred until September so that all parties could work together. We also brought some much-needed closure to the Royal Cliff application up at Sandalwood and Conestoga to permit 124 townhomes and 2 semi-detached. And we dealt with an in-camera item on Marciana Sand Homes Corporation and OMB litigation or potential litigation. Are there any questions? Seeing none, Madam Mayor, I'll turn them back to you for ratification.
Thank you. Council, I have a motion moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Medeiros, that the summary of recommendations be received and the recommendations be approved. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's carried. We're at 18.1 of our agenda. Tomorrow is the Region Appeal Council meeting and the Region's Community Fluoridation Committee meeting. Deborah Reeder from the CEO's office has provided our members with a briefing note on these meetings. I don't see her here to give us any briefing, but if members have questions, I'm sure that she will be available to answer their questions. I have a motion moved by Councillor Spovieri, seconded by Councillor Moore, that the report be received. All those in favor? All those opposed, that's carried. We can now deal with item 19. This is public question period. This is where we invite members of the public to come forward to the podium and to ask any questions about any decision made by council at today's meeting. There's a 15-minute limit for all questions and answers. Are there any questions from the public about a decision made at today's council meeting? Going once, going twice. We're now at the portion of our meeting dealing with the adoption of the city bylaws to give effect to council decisions made at this meeting and previous meetings. I have a motion moved by Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Williams, that the bylaws before council at its meeting of June 8th be given the required number of readings taken by the mayor and the city clerk and the corporate seal affixed thereto. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's carried. Our next item of business is item 21. This is closed session business. I have a motion moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that council proceed into closed session to discuss matters pertaining to the following. 21.1, minutes closed session, City Council of May 25th. 21.2, minutes closed session, Planning and Infrastructure Services Committee meeting, May 30th, 2016. 21.3, minutes of the closed session, Community and Public Services, June 1st, 2016. 21.4, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before the administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board litigation matter. And lastly, the addition of 21.5, minutes closed session, Planning and Infrastructure Services Committee, June 6, 2016. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's carried. This meeting is now recessed in order for council to consider its closed session business in the council committee room. All meetings of council must start and end in public session. After closed session is completed, council will reconvene in public session in the council chambers to complete its business on today's agenda, including reporting out on any actions arising from its closed session portion of the meeting and passing a confirming bylaw to confirm the proceedings of and decisions from this meeting and adjourning this meeting. We're recessed. In 10 minutes, if you could reconvene, council.